Welcome to the Abroad Link blog, your window into the world of translation and international communication. I'm Anna, and today we present a new article designed to enlighten, inspire, and take you on a journey through words. Enjoy! Translation Industry in Europe, what the ELIS 2026 report reveals. The ELIS 2026 report maps a market shifting from volume to value, demonstrating how specialization, ISO standards, and expert oversight secure competitive advantage in AI-driven regulated workflows. The translation industry in Europe is entering a visible transition phase. Traditional volumes are shrinking, AI is accelerating workflows, and value is shifting towards review, specialization, and consultancy. This is one of the clearest messages from the ELIS 2026 report, European Language Industry Survey, based on 1,058 participants in 45 countries. In this article, we examine the key findings of the report, the expected trends, and finally the practical drivers, specialization, ISO standards, expertise, to tackle the transformation.
ELIS 2026, a realistic snapshot of a market under pressure. First of all, ELIS highlights an essential point. The results reflect opinions and expectations, rather than verifiable accounting data. This report therefore serves as a useful barometer for understanding the climate within the sector, from the perspective of its main players. The report also points to a recurring gap. Service providers, agencies, freelancers tend to focus primarily on immediate pressure on rates, competition, and volumes, while some language departments adopt a broader view of the language industry with a stronger emphasis on technology and AI-related services.
The report in 5 key points. Traditional language services are declining more rapidly. The report emphasizes a clear trend. The downward trajectory is intensifying for activity, demand, and expectations, while 62% of language service companies report a decline in their local market. What this means in practical terms, the high-volume, low-margin model is becoming increasingly unsustainable. Generalist players that are heavily dependent on the domestic market are more exposed. Differentiation, quality, expertise, processes is becoming more decisive than ever before.
AI is no longer a secondary consideration. It is redefining production and value. ELIS 2026 shows that AI and machine translation are changing the way work is produced, purchased, and valued. 63% of freelance translators now use automated translation in some form through post-editing, or MT, AI usages, and 59% of language companies report a direct negative impact from AI. The report also nuances a point that is often exaggerated. Post-editing discounts are not as extreme as is sometimes suggested. ELIS data show a relatively narrow range centered around 20%, with averages of 13% freelancers, 20% language departments, and 29% between companies and external post-editors.
Economic pressure is intensifying, pressure on pricing and investment. There is broad consensus across all segments. Rates fell in 2025 and are not expected to rise in 2026. On the investment side, 48% of respondents, language companies, report a decline or significant decline in 2025. In other words, lower margins for investment at a time when investment is most needed. Tools, security, quality, upscaling.
Freelancer morale is a major warning signal. The report includes a very clear section on the sustainability of freelancing. Only 22% responded yes, with confidence, when asked whether freelancing has a sustainable future. Some report income losses of up to 50%. Beyond income, ELIS also highlights a sense of devaluation. Post-editing is perceived as a replacement activity, with increased time pressure, less human interaction, and more rigid conditions, especially with large clients.
Where the market is shifting: post-editing, direct clients, and changes in the service mix. ELIS provides useful figures. Post-editing accounts for 24% of total revenue, while traditional human translation has dropped drastically from 37% to 29%. In terms of direct clients, it stands at 73% for language companies, compared to 48% for freelancers, 48% versus 42% in 2024. These signals point in the same direction. Value is not disappearing, but shifting towards more structured services, more closely aligned with business needs, and increasingly focused on quality.
Translation industry in Europe. Expected trends according to ELIS 2026. A more fragmented demand, more content, more iterations. When AI reduces the cost of producing a first draft, organizations are testing new workflows and increasingly asking linguists to review, adapt, and ensure quality rather than translating from scratch. The report explicitly describes this gradual shift from pure production to a broader range of language-related services. For marketing, communication, or technical writing teams, This often results in shorter cycles, a higher number of versions, greater need for terminological consistency, and quality control before publication.
A more demanding client relationship, demonstrable quality, security, and processes. The report highlights rising expectations around technology and security among language departments, as well as the importance of clear workflow governance. In a context where trust can be undermined by seemingly good results, the ability to explain how quality is produced becomes a competitive advantage.
A polarization of the market, convenience versus expertise. The lower end of the market, generic content, low stakes, low risk, is becoming increasingly automatable. Conversely, value is concentrating in regulated or sensitive areas, with high reputational, technical, or strategic stakes. It is precisely in these areas that specialization and standards are most relevant. Why specialization? ISO standards and expertise are key directions to pursue. Specialization, moving away from undifferentiated volume. ELIS notes that specialization is linked to greater resilience. In practice, specialization turns a service into a rare skill, understanding risks, mastering terminology, and the ability to challenge a brief. For organizations managing technical content, technical translation often becomes a priority use case, as it requires rigor, consistency, and control.
ISO standards, delivering reassurance, structure, and auditable quality. ELIS indicates that certification levels are on the rise again, with efforts focused on ISO 17100, translation services, and ISO 9000, quality management, while ISO 18587, post-editing, and ISO IEC 27000, information security, are picking up again after a slight decline in 2025.
Expertise. Becoming an expert in the loop, again, not a backup human. The report describes a shift in role, less raw written production, and the development of a role as a controller, ensuring the quality of multilingual content. In many digital environments, software translation clearly illustrates this need for control, UI, length constraints, product consistency, integrations.
Conclusion. Translation is not disappearing. It is being redefined. In a blog published on the 2nd of February, titled, "How is AI Reshaping the Global Translation Industry, and What Still Needs Humans?" we reviewed industry data, highlighted by Nimsy and Slater, both reporting a growing translation sector, with strong prospects through 2030. Meanwhile, the ELIS report appears to highlight an existential crisis in the sector, which is undergoing a profound transformation. The two are not mutually exclusive, and as the ELIS report rightly points out, there is indeed a market evolution, but with value being created in a different way.
The report also suggests that expertise and domain specialization are future pathways for those who want to survive in the industry. It is precisely in this context that a specialized translation company remains the only way to ensure and secure multilingual content, even in a world of hybrid workflows. To follow the study and its updates, we also recommend consulting the official ELIS repository. ELIS Survey Repository. The ELIS report, based on 1,058 participants from 45 countries, highlights the sector's growing challenges. Among companies, 62% report a decline in their local market, and 59% say AI has had a direct negative impact. Among freelancers, MT and AI usage has reached 63%, while traditional translation has fallen from 37% to 29%. Only 22% feel confident about the future, and 17% are considering leaving the profession.
That concludes this article. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss any of our upcoming posts. All the links are in the description. Thank you again for your loyalty, and see you soon.